She emptied the account, took the house, and walked out smiling, like I was some pit stop in her real life. That's the moment I knew. I didn't just lose a wife. I'd been robbed by someone who once held my hand and promised forever. I'm 42 now. A year ago, I was running a mid-sized tech firm. Nothing flashy, but I had a steady income, a warm house, and a future I thought was shared. My ex-wife, Clara? She worked as a paralegal. Always calm, always polished. The kind of person who never raised her voice, even while gutting you. We were married for 7 years. Built a life that looked good on the outside. Clara liked clean counters, labeled folders, and wine that didn't come with a twist-off cap. I liked quiet Sundays and the way she used to hum while folding laundry. Used to. The day she left, I came home from a client meeting to silence. I knew something was off when the front door wasn't locked. Clara always locked it. Always. Then I stepped inside. No echo of her heels on the hardwood floor. No faint sound of her podcast playing in the bathroom. Just an empty kitchen still, warm from the afternoon sun. The fridge door was cracked open like someone had left in a hurry. But nothing was rushed. No, it was all very intentional. Even the condiments were gone. Who takes mustard and soy sauce in a divorce? Then I saw it, on the counter in her handwriting. A post-it note. You'll bounce back. You always do. And next to it, divorce papers, already signed. She didn't wait to talk. She didn't wait for a fight. She just disappeared with everything. My bank app wouldn't open. At first I thought it was a glitch. I reset my password. Then I got a notification. Account closed. I called customer support. The man on the line sounded sorry, like he knew something I didn't. When he asked if I'd recently finalized a divorce, I hung up. I walked into our bedroom, or what used to be ours, and sat on the edge of the stripped mattress. No pillows, no sheets, just that hollow silence that wraps around your chest and doesn't let go. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was blank. She didn't just leave. She made sure I had nothing to stand on when she walked out. But I did bounce back. Not the way she thought. Not with a smile or a speech. With silence. With patience. With something she never saw coming. We met at a small business seminar. It wasn't romantic. At least not at first. Just two people in their early 30s, sitting next to each other at a folding table covered in pamphlets and cheap coffee. I was coming off the ruins of a failed startup. Clara had just ended a messy engagement with a guy who, from what she told me, cared more about appearances than people. She looked sharp that day. Navy blazer, not a hair out of place. She had this quiet confidence that made the room feel smaller when she spoke. We talked about overhead costs and client retention. Not exactly sparks flying, but it was the first conversation in months that didn't feel like a wait. It moved slow. I liked it that way. I'd already rushed into things before, emotionally, financially, paid the price. So I paced myself. Took time. Clara liked structure too. We made sense. I brought steadiness. She brought speed. I'd analyze something to death. She'd make the call and move. I taught her how to slow down. She taught me how to take risks again. For a while it worked. We started in a one-bedroom apartment, barely enough room for a full bed and a desk. We used to laugh about it, squeezing past each other in the kitchen, dancing to Spotify on the rug that always curled up at the corners. She made the space feel bigger, warmer. Her parents weren't sure about me at first. I wasn't flashy. No trust fund, no legacy business. Just a guy trying again. But over time, I think they saw how steady I was. I was the one who showed up. Every time. We got married 3 years in. Small ceremony. Her favorite cousin officiated. The ring wasn't expensive, but it was what I could afford. I remember her looking at it like it was enough, like I was enough. We built a life, merged our routines, joint grocery lists, Sunday morning drives, shared tax folders on the cloud. She kept her own checking account. Backup plan, she called it. I didn't question it. Thought it was smart, honestly, just in case. She used to joke about prenups. Only people with real money get those, she'd say. I laughed too. I wasn't rich, and I trusted her. That was my wealth. The belief that we were solid. But something shifted about a year before the end. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Not in a mean way. Just silence. Fewer glances across the table. More calendar invites replacing real conversations. I'd ask if she was okay. She'd say she was just tired. I chalked it up to stress. Her firm had her pulling long hours. I figured it was a rough patch. Everyone hits one. We'd been lucky for a while. Maybe too lucky. Then one night I got home late after a client dinner and found her asleep on the couch, TV still on. I sat down next to her, just to feel close. She shifted away in her sleep. And that was the first time I felt it, not just distance but absence, like she was already gone. It started small. Things always do. Clara began working late more often. At first it was believable. Her firm had just taken on a new high-profile client. She said she needed to stay after hours, finish briefs, help with filings. I believed her. I wanted to. But then it started happening every week. Fridays, sometimes Saturdays. Then the money started shifting. I'd check our joint account and notice larger withdrawals, not hundreds, but enough to raise an eyebrow. I'd ask, and she always had an answer. Just paying bills. Had to cover something for Mom. Logical, clean, but something about her tone felt thin, like she'd rehearsed it. I didn't push. I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband snooping through receipts. I told myself we were fine. That stress makes people distant, that love changes form over time, but the cracks kept growing. One evening, I got a notification from the Uber app, not mine, hers. We shared the same account. She'd forgotten to log out. The ride was from an office building across town to a boutique hotel. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time. When she came home that night, I didn't say anything. Just watched her walk in, hang up her coat, kiss me on the cheek like it was any other day. I remember noticing that she didn't make eye contact. That weekend, I checked her phone. Not directly. I saw her put in her passcode over her shoulder while she was ordering takeout. It felt wrong, but I memorized it. That night I waited until she fell asleep, crept into the living room and opened her messages. Most were normal. Work chats, family updates. But one number stood out, saved as office, with no thread name. The messages were short, casual. But one said, "I miss you, can't wait to see you again." I still didn't say anything. I don't know why. Maybe I didn't want confirmation. Maybe I thought if I just gave her space, she'd come back. I started sleeping later, pretending to snore when she got up early to get ready, listening to her whispered phone calls in the bathroom. Then came the cologne. She used our Amazon account to order a bottle of men's cologne. Expensive, foreign sounding. Not something I'd ever worn. Not even close. I stared at the delivery confirmation email, just sitting there in my inbox like a quiet bomb. There was no note, no card, just a gift receipt. That night, I drove around for a while. Parked down the street from our house. I had an old voicemail from her saved on my phone, one where she was asking me to pick up milk and saying she loved me. I played it on loop, watching the lights in our bedroom turn off. I knew, and I still hadn't confronted her. Not once. Told myself I needed more proof, but the truth? I wasn't ready to hear her say it. I wasn't ready to lose her even if she'd already left. She left on a Thursday. I remember because it was the one day that week I came home early. I'd wrapped up a client call and figured maybe we could have dinner together, maybe even talk. But when I turned onto our street, I saw a moving truck in the driveway. At first, I thought maybe it was a neighbor's. Then I saw the boxes with our last name on them. 2 men were carrying out the coffee table I'd built with my dad the year we moved in. I stepped out of my car, confused but calm. One of the movers looked at me and said, "She said you'd be okay with this." Clara wasn't even there. I walked inside. The place looked like it had been hit by a storm, a very organized one. Half the furniture gone, art off the walls, kitchen stripped, down to the bare cabinets. I checked our bedroom. The closet was empty on her side. Even the hangers were gone. Then I saw the envelope on the bed. Inside were divorce papers, filed, stamped, dated 3 weeks earlier. I'd never even seen a warning. Never heard the word separation. Just silence, and now this. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Account closed. No balance, no history. Just a message. This account is no longer active. I called the bank, heart pounding, voice flat. The representative told me Clara had withdrawn the entire balance 10 days ago and closed the account with proper authorization. I didn't argue. I just listened, nodded like he could see me. Then I logged into my business account. I still had that, at least. Or so I thought. A red alert popped up. Funds temporarily frozen pending legal motion. Clara's lawyer had filed an injunction, apparently to secure assets for division. She knew exactly what to do, how to time it, how to make sure I was left with nothing, no confrontation, no fight, just legal paperwork and silence. That was the part that gutted me the most. She didn't even give me the decency of a last word, didn't want closure, just control. This wasn't about infidelity. This was destruction. She didn't just leave the marriage. She erased me, financially, emotionally, logistically. She'd moved on with surgical precision like I was just a chapter she didn't need to reread. I didn't scream. I didn't call her. I didn't even cry. I just sat down in the middle of the empty living room, on the one chair she hadn't taken, and stared at the wall. That's when something shifted. A line broke in me quietly. Not rage, not revenge, resolve. I moved into a friend's basement the next week. Concrete floors, no windows, a leaking pipe near the water heater. But it was mine. And it was quiet. I sold everything I could. The car, some old tech gear, a few stocks I was saving for retirement. I canceled every subscription, changed my number, deleted every shared account. It felt like cleaning up after a storm no one saw coming. There were days I could barely breathe from the weight of it all. The debt, the shame, the hollow space she left behind. But I kept going. Quietly. No Facebook posts, no calls to mutual friends, just work. I had some leftover code from my old firm, tools I'd built that never made it to market. I brushed off the dust, polished them up, and started offering freelance consulting. Small contracts, nothing big, but I kept delivering. And word spread. I wasn't thinking about her, not at first. I just wanted to survive, to feel like I mattered again. Then one night, about 6 months in, I got a ping on my company's website, a job inquiry from someone named Peter Landers. I stared at the name for a few seconds. It felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. I clicked the resume. There it was. Clara's new husband, the guy I'd seen in one tagged photo weeks after she left, the one I'd never looked up again. He was applying for a mid-level project manager role at my company. He didn't recognize the name. I'd rebranded, changed the company name, moved the LLC to another state. It didn't matter. He was just another job seeker. No idea who I was. No clue he'd just knocked on the door of the man his wife had gutted. At first I laughed, then I stopped. I had a choice. I could ignore it. Or I could answer. I opened the resume again, skimmed his work history. Underwhelming. Generic. Then I made a new folder on my drive and titled it Redemption. That night, I stayed up writing a job offer. The role was real, but the responsibilities were heavy. Long hours. Unclear expectations. Metrics that shifted weekly. Salary? Modest. Just enough to make it hard to say no. Benefits? Minimal. Just enough to keep him from leaving right away. I sent the offer. No smile, no anger, just strategy. He accepted the next morning. I didn't tell anyone, didn't brag, Didn't make a plan to get even. This wasn't about theatrics. This was about control. Quiet, legal, professional control. And it had just begun. Peter showed up on a Monday. Khaki slacks. Crooked tie. Smiled like he was still trying to impress someone. I greeted him like any other new hire. No flicker of recognition. No hint that I knew exactly who he was. Just a firm handshake and a welcome packet with too many pages. He looked around the office, wide-eyed. I could tell he thought he'd landed something solid. What he didn't know was, this wasn't the version of my company I'd built for growth. This version? I'd built it for him. His role was demanding. Intentionally vague job descriptions, shifting priorities, tasks that looked simple on the surface, but twisted into knots underneath. I watched him stumble, sweat, send confused emails, ask the same questions twice. I gave him just enough guidance to keep him afloat, not enough to succeed, enough to survive. Weeks went by. He kept showing up. That surprised me. Most people would have quit. But he stayed. Maybe out of pride, maybe because Clara was watching, maybe because he couldn't afford not to. Then, one Thursday, Clara walked in. She wasn't supposed to be there. She didn't call ahead, didn't check in, just showed up under the pretense of dropping off lunch for Peter. But she wasn't carrying anything. No bag, no Tupperware. Just her, standing in my doorway, eyes searching mine for something. That's when I knew. She'd figured it out. Didn't panic. I just reached into my drawer and slid a document across the desk. It was an NDA, ironclad, already signed by Peter. Standard policy for new employees. It barred him from discussing workplace conditions, leadership, or internal operations with anyone, including spouses. Clara's eyes scanned it. Her hand shook just a little as she folded it back. "You taught me how the game works," I said calmly. "I'm just playing it now." She didn't respond, didn't argue, just turned and walked out fast, heels clicking down the hallway, like they were trying to outrun something. Later that day, I pulled Peter into a meeting. We didn't talk about Clara. We didn't talk about the past. I gave him new tasks, harder ones, set deadlines I knew he couldn't hit without asking for help. And when he did ask, I gave him just enough rope. The man she married was not the man she thought. Turns out Peter had debts, a shaky job history, and a tendency to inflate his resume. She'd married down, not up. I didn't fire him. That would have been too easy. I kept him. Let him wake up every day and report to the man his wife tried to destroy. Let him feel that slow, professional squeeze. No screaming, no slamming doors, just pressure. And she couldn't say a word. Because she built this system. She weaponized legality. All I did was learn. I wasn't looking for revenge anymore. I was teaching a lesson. Quietly, thoroughly. It's been a year now. I live in a smaller place, a quiet apartment near the water. Nothing fancy. No designer furniture. No giant flat screen. On the wall, just clean floors, warm light in the morning, and a view of the bay if I lean a little from the balcony. I don't own much anymore, and I don't miss any of it. I rebuilt the company, not to make a point, not to chase success, just to do the work. I take on clients who respect me. I answer to no one. I wake up when I want, cook my own meals, and leave the office by 5. I don't check on Clara or Peter. I don't need to. People tell me stories sometimes, that he's still working for me, still struggling to meet expectations. I nod. I let it pass. Whatever they're dealing with now, it's not mine to carry. A few weeks ago, a package showed up at my door. No name, no return address. Inside was an old photo frame, the one we used to keep our wedding picture in. The thrifted silver one. No note, just the frame. I didn't get emotional. I didn't stare at it for meaning. I just walked it down to the donation center and dropped it in the bin. Let someone else give it a new memory. Sometimes I think about who I was back then. The man who ignored the signs. Who believed that love, once formed, was enough to hold things together. I don't blame him. He did his best. He learned the hard way. Now I'm not angry, I'm not bitter, just free. Not because I won, but because I let go. Some losses don't need replacements. Some endings don't need new chapters. Some losses make space for something cleaner, something quieter, and that's enough.